So I've been involved in eclipse planning for many years now. And what we wanted to do was to give an example of how a community, which doesn't have the resources like Rochester, but, you know, places that find themselves in the middle of nowhere, very few resources, how do they approach the eclipse? How do they deal with the fact of Michael's really scary numbers now of everyone coming to Texas? And so what I'm going to do is just put a bit of context first, and then I'll introduce you to the two girls who are planning for Uvalde County. And hopefully you'll find some important lessons or helpful hints for yourselves. So if you did nothing to prepare for the eclipse, it's going to happen anyway. That's the really good thing about it. But you actually have to prepare and plan for the impact. It's all the people wanting to come. How are you going to cater for all these people? And so some practical resources for you to take home is my community eclipse planning. That's available on my website and the AAS website. So a lot of information in there. And then also the core message from that is assemble your team, develop your strategy, and then boldly go. So that's basically all you need to do. It sounds simple, but it's actually really quite challenging, isn't it? And one of the challenges is, how do you assemble a team if you don't have a team of people? So this is where I first met people from Uvalde County. So I did one-off consultations. Some people reach out to me because they see the opportunity. They see that, wow, this eclipse is happening. This gives us a chance to shine, and we want to make the most of it. What can we do? How can we apply this information to our community? And when you see people like this, that they get it, they understand that it's not just an event you're planning, it's actually an opportunity to do something for your community. And I meet with people and I help them align all their plans for their community development and their tourism development to be able to then focus the eclipse as well. So you incorporate your eclipse strategy into that. So therefore you're doing things that will benefit for the long term, and the eclipse will have a lasting legacy. That's the idea. It takes a fair bit of time, a lot of pre-planning. And so some people reach out to me, and these guys reached out to me in September last year. And they said, hey, we've got this eclipse happening on our doorstep. What can we do? So we helped look at align the eclipse planning process with their plans. And this is what I do when I go through these consultations with people. I just help them identify what's unique about their region, how can they brand the eclipse within the context of their community, and then also what's the legacy, how is this going to be good for the long term. And each community has unique issues. So every one of you sitting there, you will have a particular circumstance in your community that you think, wow, this is different for us. I wonder what we need to do here. So, and often that's why it's good just to bounce around ideas when you're meeting people over the breaks, see what other people are doing to identify and find solutions to their issues. So unique issues for Uvalde County in Texas is that it's in the crossroads of the paths of the annular eclipse in October and also the total eclipse next April. So there's a few people from the Hill Country region who are also in these crossroads. You're double planning in a very short period of time. It's really stressful. And anytime someone says, oh, there's only 16 days to go, it's terrifying, right? It just brings a lot of extra challenges. And like we heard this morning with Bill saying, the Uvalde is actually the crossroads of America, with the main highways going straight through the town. It's the ecological crossroads. So there's some fascinating, flora and fauna, and it's on migratory paths. There's bats, birds, bees, butterflies. There's a whole lot of things out there that make it unique. So these are the things that we need to hear about. But it just brings challenges for the eclipse because there's a lot of people coming to this region, even more now after Michael's talk. A second challenge was the issue in that you might all be familiar with with Uvalde County, but I certainly wasn't. And so the differences between the main regions, the main government regions, and the Texas Hill Country River region, where all the accommodation is based. And so that actually raised this little gem. And I'm sure that all of you face this at some point. Who's in charge? It's that idea that, am I the one making the decisions? Who heads this up? Who gives the authority on things? Who decides how big we're going to go? So it's important to figure that out. And so there's a bit of prep work to be done. And of course, we all know Uvalde because the tragedy that happened in May last year. And so that raises unique issues too, because everybody's heard of Uvalde now. Everybody associates Uvalde with tragedy and sadness. And there's the perceptions that need to be looked at, and also the media, the role of the media at the moment, because they're camped out in town. Every little story is related to the tragedy. So, sometimes towns lose their ability to take control of the narrative. So these were quite unique for Uvalde County. So from about January to April, I was involved. So I live in Australia, very rural. So meeting these guys for almost like weekly sessions, a lot of work to try and figure out the strategy. We came up with a strategy. We had our goals of what we wanted to achieve. There were 6 recommendations that I'd made, and then outlined it all in a detail about how they go about implementing it. And then the plan was there was going to be a full-time eclipse coordinator who would be on board to be able to deliver that. And so from that perspective, they were able to assemble their team. So they identified the issues. They brought me in to guide. They got the funding for a full-time eclipse coordinator. The strategy was developed, and then boldly go when no one else has gone before. So there they were. I went off chasing eclipses in Australia. And then I caught up with the girls again in June in the Albuquerque meeting. And it was then that I heard that the practicalities of the full-time eclipse coordinator didn't really plan out in the way that was expected. And on the ground, some of the things that were to be implemented, there was a real struggle because there's just not the people there to do it. And I'm sure that's familiar with all of you. So we did a big pivot at that meeting. Day 1, there was a lot of thinking. Day 2, we kind of really pulled together a bit of a plan. And the plan was that, we'd refocus, I'd re-engage, and we'd focus on the October eclipse. And we'll put together something, and that will be the framework that they can then use for the main eclipse. So straight after the Albuquerque meeting, I visited Uvalde County for the first time, and we set up a few very intense days, I must say. We moved mountains on those days, made the connections that we needed. And since then, we've been working really hard to move things forward. So I'm going to introduce Hailey and Erica. So Erica is the director of Visit Uvalde County, and Hailey is the marketing manager. But these 2 girls are pretty much on the ground, panicking, doing a great job. And it just shows you that you can do things, you do the best you can with the resources you have at the time. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate. So I'm Erica and this is Hailey. So as Kate said, we kind of got put into this role based on the roles that we had for our jobs. So that was fun. And as she mentioned, there was, budgeted for a solar eclipse coordinator in the issues talk. Unfortunately, that didn't plan out. So we just kind of had to reroute, and you got us. So we full-fledged just dove in and connected with Kate to learn anything and everything we could about solar eclipses. Not gonna lie, I had to Google what a solar eclipse was because grade school was a long time ago. So guilty, but she was a science teacher, and so she was all in it. And so together, we just dove in into Kate's plan and started creating what the solar eclipse would look like in Uvalde County. We have a very interesting county as far as rural, small, not a ton of resources, not always the same passion across the county as we found ourselves to have in this. And so we dove straight in, and the biggest thing we learned in talking with Kate was creating task forces, because although we wanted to, we couldn't accomplish all of it on our own. Us 2 small little people couldn't do it all by ourselves. Although Kate helped a lot in that it so wasn't possible just the three of us doing it. So we created our task forces, which are up here on the board. One of them was an entertainment, tourism, and marketing task force. The second was a community outreach, infrastructure and logistics, and of course, emergency operations. These are very important that we learned in this, is because we were able to find the people in our communities that fit into these task forces and give them a set of things that they needed to do, hand it off to them, and let them go do their thing. And then we would come back monthly. We created a huge big spreadsheet that we could keep track of. So we weren't constantly having to be in communication every single day. We could get our updates on that spreadsheet. So anytime anyone came to us and said, like, where are we at with this? Pull up the spreadsheet, take a look, you have an answer. You don't have to reach out to somebody, find out that answer, then go back to someone else. So that was really helpful for us from just an organization standpoint. And then we would come together monthly, the leads of all the task forces, and go into more depth about each item and really saying, like, okay, this is completely done, mark it off, move on kind of thing. So for a checklist person like us, it was great to like cross it off and be like, yay, moving on. So these were really, really important to our success and where we are now. Because you can't plan entertainment and events without an emergency operations or making sure that it's safe for people to get to said event, or if your roads are going to be blocked, or if your community doesn't know about it, who's going to show up to your event? So they're all very, very important in their own, in their own special ways. So next, wrong way. So this is just a little layout of the events that we have planned. Hailey, if you want to
take over. So with those 4 task forces, this is everything that we were able to pull together for October. So we have 3 venues across the county. We kind of decided where our main points would be, what would be the easiest locations to get to, and to also spread the visitors out so no one was in one location. So at the southern end of our county, we have Uvalde. So we have that'll be our main kickoff party Friday night. We have dueling pianos, and Kate's going to come present. We have the National Solar Observatory doing a big presentation. Then Friday, we also have Caitlin Butts, who's a really big local Texas artist. So we're excited about that. Then moving on to Saturday, we for sure had an event in each location on Saturday to help with the crowds. Our main STEM and science is going to be in our Solar Eclipse Village in the state park. We have a glow dance at night, and then vendors and talks throughout the day from some of you, actually. And then on Sunday, we'll have our Solar Eclipse Village, and then a look at 2024 and kind of where we're going, and anyone else that's around that can show the showcase of 24 and how to plan, and kind of an information share on that sense. We also are really excited because we have Clay Walker coming. So that's our main concert for the whole weekend. But yeah, this is everything that we have planned. So we hope that April's even bigger.
And just to highlight, because the Solar Eclipse Village. So, I mean, what's really cool about what's been organized is that it appeals to the local group, local population, and it's all the cool stuff that people always go and see. So that's really good. You don't need to cater for an imaginary audience of like science boffins or whoever you think's coming up. But what we have done is we put together the Solar Eclipse Village in Garner State Park. And this is the focal event for those who are wanting to focus on the eclipse itself. It's a 2-day event. And on day 1, it's all about the annular eclipse, because the annular eclipse is happening. So we have lots of programming all throughout that about anything and everything under the sun, to use Dan's phrase. You can't really see our partners on that, can you? We've got quite a number of people coming. A big presence from the University of Texas in San Antonio, the Los Angeles team, helping out on the ground. We've got Mitzi Adams, who works at the NASA Marshall Center. She's coming and doing the guided viewing. And there'll be workshops for children. We've got the National Solar Observatory, Sul Ross State University, La Fronteras STEM Research Institute. So these are all the groups that are actually going out to do outreach for local communities. There's a whole pile of stuff. It's now on the website. So on the Saturday, all about the annular. The Sunday is very exciting. So we think Sunday is going to be really cool and very big because it's the showcase of the total solar eclipse. This is where we've got a whole range of new programming, same partners, but talking about the different things that are happening in 2024. We've got a big focus on citizen science. And so a number of the leaders there will be giving updates about it all. In the afternoon, we've got some local people who are coming along, and you know, how cool was Bill before? He's not here now, but we're hoping to get him too. But local weather, local tips. So if you're planning to actually chase in the crossroads or in the hill country region, you want to kind of know about all this sort of stuff from the local perspective. So that's on offer. There's adult learning, there's creative things for children. It's all going on. So we've only just now started to promote it, but we think it will be very popular. And we'll have pavilions for science, the locals, local tourism, because within that, we want to promote the region for the longer term. And that's the legacy of this. So there's the details for the girls. So, and can I just say that they have worked behind the scenes on this. They pulled together those stakeholders without my involvement. They've been doing that on the ground, and credit where credit is due. So thank you very much.